Snow in parts of Cake Land. Where specifically and how much to expect? Cake News at 6 starts right now.
Let's take a look at some of those heavier bands. We have a heavier band from Kinsley down to Greensburg, Coldwater, Ashland, up to Bloom. We actually have meteorologist Tony Laubach. He is in just west of Ashland. Tony, what are you seeing right now?
Well, Kat, I'm not seeing a whole lot of anything out now. The snow blowing sideways here, and these are giant, wet, punishing flakes out here, I got to tell you. Currently, right now, I'm at the junction of US 160 southbound 283. You go about 10 to 15 miles to the south, you get down to the Oklahoma border near Inglewood. On the other side of that, almost a foot of snow down in the Ralston area. Here where I'm standing, we're about 2 to 3 inches, so it is a pretty tight gradient of snow from here to there. The roads are very, very treacherous. This is a gripping, wet snow. Very easy to kind of get stuck into trying to make a drive out here. I talked to a sheriff not too long ago. He mentioned there are numerous cars in the ditch here. The road's very, very slick. This is a heavy, wet, slushy snow. And of course, we've got the winds that are just adding to it here. You can really kind of see it. The half of my body that's being hit with the snow, standing kind of with that blowing in the side of my face here. So very, very treacherous travel conditions here in Clark County.
Now, as you head west of Ashland, 283 and 160, that's where we go to meteorologist Tony Laubach. Tony, it has been piling up.
Hey, that is an understatement. It has been piling up, and this is a very heavy, wet snow. I mean, we're talking almost like a liquid snow here, and that is creating some very big issues on some of these roads out here. Fortunately, we're kind of in a sparsely populated area. Not a ton of traffic. I have seen some semi-truck traffic here. 160, the highway behind me here, and I've been hearing some reports of some vehicles and ditches between here and Ashland, something once I get out again, I'll go and take a look at. But it is a heavy, wet snow here, sitting at about 4 inches here at the junction of 283 and 160 here in Clark County, and the snow continues to come down heavy, blowing sideways as well. That's another issue, kind of get limited visibility. Fortunately, though, most of the snow, once it hits the ground, is not blowing around very much. But again, though, it's that snow that is hard to drive in because it is so slushy. It kind of just grips your tires and will take you for a ride that way here. So something to be aware of in these winter storm warning counties here. Again, this is a very heavy, wet snow, and it is piling up here. Again, we're already at that 4-inch mark here, and probably easily going to add to that here as the snow will continue to fall at this equivalent here probably through the rest of the evening.
Tony was here, now he's here in Ashland. Now, Tony, you're right in the center of town. You haven't seen the 7 inches there yet in town, have you?
No, Jay, I've been measuring in various points here just kind of through town, and it's averaging about 3 to 5. And one thing to worth here, this snow is so thick and heavy, a lot of it isn't sinking into the grass. So you can stick your ruler into the snow, and you kind of go through the snow layer into maybe an inch or so of grass. So I'm going to call it roughly about 5 inches here. A lot of the areas on the concrete are about 2 to 3 to 4, and then some of the grassier areas are at about 5 here. But again, this is a very slushy, thick, heavy snow, so it really is just kind of sitting on a layer onto the grass. Another thing I've noticed too, a lot of the trees, especially the pine trees, are really sagging. Again, this heavy wet snow, I can't emphasize enough how much of it is falling out this way, and that has really made issues for the roads here as I kind of drove that 12-mile stretch between 160, 283 and here in Ashland. Very slick, and it's gripping type snow. That's what the biggest issue I think is you're going to run into travel here, is it's kind of icy, but that slush gripping your tires is going to take you for a ride. That's why I'm kind of emphasizing here all evening if you're driving through here. I would recommend you not, because again, these spots are going to catch up with you just about anywhere along these routes here, and the snow plows have been out, but again, snowing heavy at times. We're actually in the lightest snow that I've seen. Just a few flurries coming down here in Ashland right now, but expect more heavier snow bands to continue through the evening.
So let's go back live over to Ashland and meteorologist Tony Laubach. Tony, it looks like you got still a little bit of a lull, but we know you're not done yet.
No, we are not done yet here. In fact, we are in a lull right now. This has been kind of a lighter snow that we've seen here compared to what we were looking at earlier this afternoon. Some very heavy snows down this way. Currently in Ashland right now, where we're doing probably about 3 to 5 inches, depending on where you stick your ruler in here. Gentleman just off to my right here, shoveling about 2 inches off the sidewalk here right behind me. So it's kind of hit or miss just depending on exactly what kind of accumulations. But this is a very heavy, wet, slushy snow. Very difficult to get around in this snow. This is the type of snow that definitely grabs at your wheels and kind of takes you for a ride. So keep it very easy if you have to be on the roads. Otherwise, I would just stay home and wait till tomorrow when things kind of clear on out.
Meteorologist Tony Laubach is in Dodge City now, but earlier, Tony, you were where it was coming down.
Yeah, Jay, it is a far cry here in Dodge City compared to what I saw earlier this evening. Right now, we got a few flakes in Dodge City. I've measured up to 2 inches, but a lot of spots in town here have barely picked up over an inch. And you go 20 miles south to Mineola, I stuck my ruler in 10 inches of snow, and even further south beyond that, just absolutely insane driving conditions. Some of the snowfall rates down there were some that probably measure in the top 5 that I have seen, and I've been chasing snow for well over a decade all across the country. I mean, this was some heavy snow being blown sideways. At points, you could see plows that would clear the roads, and within moments of those plows passing, the road was already covered in a dusting again. Snowfall rates causing all sorts of traffic issues. I can't count the number of vehicles I saw in ditches, semi-trucks, and I'm not even sure that a lot of them spun out. The roads were so hard to see. It was so hard to see where the road ended, the shoulders began, where I think a lot of people just simply drove off the highway into these ditches. The visibility was so bad at points, and measured anywhere between 8 and 10 inches of snow pretty consistently. Mineola seemed to pick up a lot of that, I think right after 5 when that heavy snow band came through. So really heavy snows just to the south of Dodge. But again, 20 miles from here, you go from 10 inches, then up here in town to maybe an inch or 2. It's crazy how Mother Nature works sometimes.
It'll be probably an ugly commute for some people.
A blast of winter weather could create problems for Kansans. And in many cases, those problems could be closures or delays. We see at the bottom of our screen here the ticker letting people know that some of that snow has caused some issues across KAKE-land. Meteorologist Frank Waugh is here. We have team coverage this morning. Bree Smith is in Wichita, and Tony Laubach also in Dodge City for us this morning.
Yeah, Shane, that's right. Here in Dodge, you're waking up right now to about 4 to 5. Really just depends on where you stick the ruler here. This heavy, wet snow, it's kind of interesting to measure on grass because a lot of this, because it's so thick, kind of stays on top of the grass. So you stick your ruler down into it, you get about 4 inches of snow, and then you get about an inch of kind of grassy space there. So we're going to call it comfortably, I'd say 4.5 here. Really kind of got a dusty snow overnight. But last night, if you're a snow lover, yesterday was probably what you would have to describe as epic. In Mineola yesterday, one of the harder hit areas here in KAKE-land, I recorded 10 inches of snow. That was before 8 o'clock last night. And if you see in this video just how heavy that snow was coming down, you probably recorded even more than that. It would not be surprising if you picked up a foot or more at the rate some of that snow was coming down. And it snowed down there a good chunk of the night. So it's probably a safer bet that you saw over a foot of snow. That's 20 miles south of where I am in Dodge. When I rolled into Dodge last night, we were just under 2 inches of snow. So you're talking a difference of 20 miles and maybe about 10 inches of snow by the time all was said and done. Just an incredible snow event all across southern Kansas yesterday. Of course, numerous spin-offs. The road conditions here this morning, this is Wyatt Earp Drive right here behind me. Snow covered and slick, but traffic been moving along pretty good here this morning. I would imagine as crews get out here throughout the morning, we'll see an improvement on these area roads. And as Frank mentioned, temperatures getting to near 40 degrees will certainly help alleviate some of those road concerns here, at least through the day. Yeah, Shane, we've got just a few flakes, and really that's probably being generous at this point. I think we're really seeing the end of the snow here. Here in Dodge, I've stuck my trusty, the farmer's paper. This actually out of Dodge City here. I carry this around with me to measure snow here. We've got 5 inches on the ground here in Dodge. You go 20 miles south, as Frank mentioned, to Mineola. I stuck this ruler in last night just before 8 o'clock, 10 inches down there. I bet they easily exceeded a foot with the way the snow was coming down there. I had to get through that here. That drive took well over an hour from Mineola to Dodge. And again, that's only 20 miles, folks. It was a pretty crazy night last night. Fortunately, though, things have winded down here quite a bit. Behind me here, Wyatt Earp Drive, the main east-west drag through through Dodge City. We're seeing traffic moving along pretty well. The car load has increased a little bit here. I know some of the rural areas still dealing with some slick spots, and even behind me here, I can see kind of a packed slush and ice. So you're going to want to take it slow and easy if you're traveling anywhere here in southwest Kansas, particularly in those areas that saw a lot of snow. Give those crews some time to get these roads cleared off out here. But fortunately, again, the falling snow, the blowing snow has all but come to an end. So really just dealing with the remnants behind here. As the sun comes out, temperatures warm into above freezing, we should start to see things improve dramatically in southwest Kansas.
All this weather was falling first in western Kansas. Meteorologist Tony Laubach joining us live in Mineola this morning. Current conditions there, Tony, hopefully better than what you saw overnight. What a mess.
Yeah, it was a mess overnight. But Shane, I mean, you can see here behind me, we're now in the postcard part of this storm here. We've got the sun out. There is snow as far as the eye can see. Unfortunately, though, some of it's been packed down. Some of it's melted away. I can only find about 8 to 9 inches left over. I measured 10 before 8 o'clock last night. I'm pretty sure we topped out near a foot before things kind of started winding down here. But in Mineola last night, I mean, snow coming down, just incredibly heavy. Like, I don't know how to describe how heavy that snow was coming down, and coming down sideways. It was just making a mess of the roads, sticking to everything. Streets, street signs, telephone poles. It's interesting to see the northern facing parts of these signs and telephone poles with 1 or 2 inches of snow actually stuck to them. So, I mean, just a heavy, wet snow that came down last night in Mineola just created all sorts of issues here across the county.
Yeah, and Tony, as you look to head back here, you got a long drive ahead of you. Just driving in those kinds of conditions, you have a phenomenal record with staying on the road. People struggling, though. What's the best tip that you have for driving in some of these icy conditions?
Well, I mean, the honest advice is don't. If you don't have to be driving, try not to be out on the roads. That's going to be the biggest advice I can give you. And if you are forced to be out on the roads for some reason, then you really just need to take it very, very slow. I think it's a lesson we learned in Wichita here this morning, that we really just need to slow things down. And again, just be reasonable out there. We know that not everybody's got all-wheel drive, but you really just have to take it easy out there on the roads. Slow, slow, slow. That is the key. And Shane, Frank, I know you guys have missed out big time on this snow out here, and you guys have been just talking about how much you want to be out here. I'm bringing a little something back for you here. This will be a snowball. Be prepared when I do get back. This is coming for you. Live in Mineola, meteorologist Tony Laubach. KAKE News on your side.
Is that a snowball or a snowman? My goodness, Tony.
Snow boulder.
Yeah, we got to watch out once he gets back here.
If Tony throws his back out lifting that thing.
Hopefully he's got a Yeti cooler in the back or something. Keep it on ice.
Oh, man.
Meteorologist Tony Laubach joining us live in Mineola. Current conditions there are looking great, Tony. I'm just worried about that snowball that you had before. Is it gaining traction at this point? You're just rolling it around?
It's actually in the trunk right now. I stuck it in my cooler. Normally I save that for hailstones, but big enough cooler, I can fit that snowball, so stand by. It's on its way. But yeah, I mean, beautiful conditions out here. This is when the snow is picturesque. You've got the sun out, which even with temperatures below freezing is doing enough to really start making a difference on the road. Seeing a lot more of the wet roads here behind me. This is 283 running here on the south side of Mineola, working its way off to the north here. Plows up and down this street, really getting the roads taken care of pretty quickly. Last night, though, a whole different story. The mess of snow that came down, I mean, came down in a big old hurry. We're talking after about 6 o'clock when that second band rolled through, probably snowing 1 to 2 inches per hour at times, whiteout conditions, a lot of people ending up off the highway. And folks, I don't think it was because of the slick conditions. It just got to a point where you couldn't see the roads anymore, and people probably just innocently driving off the roads because it was impossible to tell where the concrete ended, shoulder, and the ditches began. I think that was really the biggest issue here. The roads were slushy, the roads were slick, and numerous people ended up off the side of the roads. But overall here, even on my drive from Dodge to here this morning, I didn't see any of the cars in the ditch. They're really already cleaned up here, and now we're just kind of left with this incredibly picturesque scene here in Mineola, really all across southwest Kansas, where we saw snow totals in excess of 10 inches in many spots, including right here in Mineola. Last night at 8, I measured 10. A little less than that now, but just looking as pretty as ever here in southwest Kansas.
Falling first in southwestern Kansas, where some places saw up to a foot of snow. Heavy snow started Wednesday morning. The snow and wind limited visibility on US 160 near Ashland, causing a semi to drive off the highway into the field alongside the highway. Coldwater, Plain City, Bloom, and Mineola seeing some of the most snow in the area.
Here's a really cool picture, actually, from meteorologist Tony Laubach. This is in Mineola, where we had 12 inches of snow. And then take a look at this. We actually had accumulations on the sides of things. This is a 3.75 inch accumulation on a telephone pole And you can see, here's the telephone pole. It's just on the side of it. So that's how crazy wet and heavy this snowfall was.
All this weather was falling first in western Kansas.
Meteorologist Tony Laubach reports on the conditions there.
Meteorologist Tony Laubach here, coming to you from the bullseye of this incredible snowstorm here in southwest Kansas, from Mineola, where last night, just before 8 o'clock, I measured 10 inches of snow, and the snow continued to come down heavy overnight. Now, I arrived here this morning, stuck the ruler in, less than 10 inches here, but a lot of that's probably melted and compacted a little bit, some of that even blowing away as I've seen numerous drifts over 3 feet. But last night, incredible snowfall rates coming down here, snarling traffic along US 160 and right here behind me along US 283. Well, we definitely knew it was coming, and Ma Nature certainly did not hold back. Heavy snows had already begun Wednesday morning, and accumulations were well underway across far south central into southwest Kansas. Heavy snow was falling and being blown across US 160 near Ashland, limiting visibility and causing this semi to drive off the highway well into the field alongside the road. Intense bands of snow moved in as night fell, and roads went from bad to worse. Near whiteout conditions combined with slushy roads caused vehicle after vehicle after vehicle after vehicle to end up in the snow on the sides of the road. This semi south of Mineola on 283 was stuck in the snow, sticking out into the northbound lanes. Traffic was able to get around, only to pass another semi just a couple miles north up the road. In the town of Mineola, 10 inches of snow had come down by 8 o'clock, and intense snow continued well into the night. Many locations across southwest Kansas likely saw over a foot of accumulation as snow continued well into the morning hours. Well, the snow finally pushed out here earlier this morning, and now we're left with the skies bluing back up again as that storm system exits the region here, giving KDOT crews plenty of time to get out and clear the roads, get everything back to normal. Reporting from Mineola, I'm meteorologist Tony Laubach. KAKE News on your side.